clearly?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Calling our first meeting of 2026 to order. Debbie, will you call roll, please?
Vicky Clues,
Here.
Patty Thayer,
Here.
and Tony Goodwin is absent, but Terry Guidowski is here. Joe Rogoff,
Here.
Spencer Scott,
Here.
Betsy Van Dyke,
Here.
Lonnie Lazard,
Present.
Carrie Hernandez,
Here.
and Nick Thayer.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Because we have everybody that we should have sitting up here tonight, if there are any alternates, either in the room or online, you need to, participate as just part of the general public. And so when we ask for comments from council members, you need to wait until we, ask for public comments, and then you may make a comment as part of public. And you'll find out more about that when we do the Brown Act training, by the way. Let's go ahead and talk about the approval of the agenda. I feel the ad hoc's work on the latest project, the lock project, is more important to deal with first. So what I would like to have us do is vote on switching our 8 and 9, I think it is.
Yes.
So yes, 8 and 9. Is there any
So
objection?
moved.
Is there any objection? No,
Switching just those two, or
just those two, yes,
so 9 comes first and then 8?
yes.
Got it, thank you.
Are you the second on that, Patty?
Yes.
Okay. And then just a vote to approve the agenda with that
Roll
modification.
call or aye?
It can just be a
Okay,
regular
yeah.
vote.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. This is my first, as the real chair. I've subbed as chair before. So I'm dependent on Debbie keeping me in line and doing what I should be doing. Okay, so we're moving ahead then to, is there anyone on council who feels like they have a conflict of interest with the topics being covered? I don't see any hands. Moving on to consent agenda. That is, the approval of the draft December 11th, 2025 meeting. And just to reiterate what we've said before, if you weren't at the meeting, but you did watch the recording of the meeting, you're welcome to still vote. You don't have to abstain if you feel comfortable. Or you can abstain if you haven't either, if you weren't here or you didn't see the recording, please do abstain. All right. And this is a roll call vote.
I think it'll be easier that way.
Okay.
Because there's people that were here and weren't here.
Perfect.
So I can do a roll call vote for that.
Do you need a motion?
And we do need a motion.
I move to approve the minutes. I'll second.
Okay,
Thank you.
and then Vicky,
I approve.
Patty,
Approve.
Terry,
Abstain.
Joe,
Yes.
Spencer,
Yes.
Betsy,
Yes.
Lonnie,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
and Nick.
Yes.
Great. So approved. All right, moving on to council member comments. For things that aren't on the agenda now. Debbie and I have talked about this and we've decided that we want to maybe make a couple of changes, small ones hopefully, to allow for all council members to be able to make comments when they want to, and be included in comments, but also to keep the meeting kind of moving along and to give the public their chance as well. So tonight we're going to do intros. So we're going to ask each of you to talk a little bit about how long you've been on the MAC, if this is not your first year, and why you sort of decided to be on the MAC. And then any other announcement that you want to make. And again, just have it be brief. And we're going to go around the room to do that. So Patty, we'll start with you, please.
Well, thanks for the heads up on that. Hi, everybody. Actually, I'm not contagious. I'm just still battling this god awful flu. So that's why I'm masking, so to sort of protect you all. I'm Patty Thayer. I'm the rep for Villa Grande Monte Rio. I was the alternate for that area for 2 years before I became the rep. So this is now my 4th year working on the map, but just my 2nd year as the representative for my area. And I got involved 3 years ago at the urging of a neighbor who had been a MAC representative and felt it was an important conduit for information in our communities. And since I had fairly recently become a full timer in West County instead of sort of a weekender, I thought it was really important for me to get to know more about my area, the Board of Supervisors and local government. And I certainly have not been disappointed at all. It's been a great experience so far.
Thanks. Joe?
Joe Rogoff, I represent Guerneville. I don't know for how long. 4 years?
Yeah, you're the same,
Right.
you're the same. We
Okay,
came in at the same time.
thank you. I've lived on the Lower Russian River for about 50 years now, 50. And, you know, during my working career, I was mostly working away from the river. And it occurred to me upon retirement that I would like to know more about where I live and like to participate more in where I live. And so that's why I joined the MAC.
Hi, I'm Nick Thayer. This is my first meeting as MAC rep. I'm representing Rio Neato. See, I use he, they pronouns. I've lived in Rio Neato for about 3 years. I'm currently working at Monte Rio Recreation and Park District, which I love. Do a lot of park maintenance there, and I'm also working on my master's in environmental management in San Francisco. Broadly, my interests are local environmental issues, economic empowerment, and governance. And I also look forward to hearing from Rio Neato and learning about the issues that matter to people there. Yeah, is this the time for general public comment or
Yes.
general
Yeah, you can
comment?
make a general comment,
Not
on the agenda.
the Federal Department of the Interior has just opened up or has just begun a big policy shift on the outer continental shelf just off the coast of California. And it seems like they're gonna push to start opening up the shelf for oil drilling. So if anybody is interested in that, you can go to savemycoast.org. There's a lot of information there. Comments on this initial policy change, which is not final. It's not open for leases yet, but it raises the question. Comments are due by January 23rd. Savemycoast.org.
Thank you, and welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Spencer.
Hi, everyone. Spencer Scott, representative of Guerneville. I think this is the beginning of my 3rd year, maybe. Yeah. I've lived in Guerneville since 2020. And my husband and I have Solar Punk Farms down the road. Similar to Nick, very interested in environmental issues and local economic empowerment. So that's why I joined the MAC. Very interested in what's going on locally and figuring out how we can make this beautiful place better.
Thanks. Lonnie?
Lonnie Lazar, I am a representative from Forestville. And I think this also is the beginning of my 3rd year here on the MAC. I moved to Forestville 3 years ago and like some of the people you've already heard from, was interested in learning more about my community and what's important to the people where I live and getting, participating more in helping the community, achieve its goals.
I also forgot that I have a public comment. Should I say it at the
Go ahead,
end?
yeah.
Okay, I was just, I remember, I don't know how many meetings ago, we talked about parking on Armstrong Woods. I think primarily because people were parking there overnight. I just heard that I'm hearing that it's gonna be finalized, that there's no parking at all in Armstrong Woods and like. And maybe that's incorrect, maybe it's correct, but would love to clarify if there was a final ruling on that. Cause what I remember from the meeting was that it was just gonna be no overnight parking, especially because near the fire station. I know that people park there when floods are imminent. People move their cars from elsewhere to there. At the end of Armstrong Woods, like kind of before you get to the fire station. So just wanna be thinking about, yeah, what's going on with that.
I'll look into that and get back.
Okay,
And Lonnie, did you have another?
Yes, I have an announcement, I guess. Forestville is going to be hosting a town hall meeting on February the 5th from 6 to 8 p.m. And even though it's called the Forestville Town Hall, it's open to all people from all communities of the Russian River. District 5 is gonna be there to make a presentation. We've invited a number of nonprofits, organizations to make some presentations as well about the activities that they have going on in and around Forestville. And I know that I and Carrie and perhaps Ty, our alternate Forestville MAC members, will be there. All the rest of the MAC is, you guys are invited to come and participate as well. And it's gonna be at the El Molino Library. I think doors will open 5:30-ish. So if people wanna come and interact with the nonprofits, we'll have tables there with information about the work that they're doing. And they'll be sticking around a little bit after the meeting if people want to engage with them as well. So that's February 5th from 6 to 8 p.m.
Thanks, Lonnie. Cool, thanks. Terry,
Sure, Terry Guzdowski. I'm currently the alternate for Cazadero Duncan Mills. And this is the beginning of my 4th year. I had a break in between. I was on the very first 2 years. And was asked to come back. And I think it's just been a really great way for me personally to learn a lot about not only my community, but the Lower Russian River and the political climate and everything that's going on with the board of supervisors. So hopefully some of that will help me become a better Cazaderan. So anyway.
okay, Betsy.
I'm Betsy Van Dyke. I've lived in Guerneville since 1986, after the flood. But the aftermath was still going on when I got here. And have lived and I am the representative of Guerneville South Pocket Canyon. I don't know how long I've been here. Is it 1.5 terms or?
I think you're going on to your 4th year also.
I think so.
She was alternate first, right?
No, I wasn't. I filled in for when
Oh, you
Jeanette
filled in,
left.
yeah.
I filled in anyway, the reason why I applied is because, for 2 reasons. I had neighbors who encouraged me to join, and I figured I would apply and then we would have an election that was back and I would lose. But no one else applied. So that's how I got here, and for most of my life here in Sonoma County, have been involved in community projects and organizations and committees and commissions, and I even sat on a state level committee for a while, and I'm one of the founders of Food for Thought, and I served on the Sonoma County Commission on AIDS for about 10 years and all that kind of stuff. But so I'm kind of a whore for this.
We're not putting that on your.
I'm making sure it's the next meeting minutes.
Anyway, I really enjoy working with public policy and my purpose here. I have a very difficult district, Guerneville South, because it's so spread out and so diverse and a lot of vacation homes and anyway. But my goal continues to be to try to get input from the rest of my community, which is very difficult to do. And Debbie and I were talking about that today, so we've got a couple of plans. Good. And there we go.
Carrie, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Carrie Hernandez. And I was very active last year as an alternate. And so this year, coming in as a representative and representing Forestville. And I lived in Forestville for almost 5 years now. And what brought me to the MAC was first a lot of conversations with Debbie and her other roles that she had and learning about our schools and policy and really wanting to better understand what's going on locally, as we don't have local little governments, bodies. I really want to understand how policy is getting made, what initiatives we have going, what projects we have going, and really being on the MAC. I think what's been really eye-opening is seeing how all of our small communities have very similar needs, but are all very, very different. And so it's been very helpful to find out, even though we abut one another, so to speak, we have a lot of different needs. And so I really appreciate learning that and seeing everyone's awareness and sensitivity.
Thank you, Carrie. And again, welcome as a council member. I'm Vicki Clues. I'm the new chair, and I also am the representative for the Hacienda neighborhood, which includes a whole bunch of neighborhoods that I won't name right now, but I think you've all stated a lot of the reasons why I became a MAC member, and this is my 4th year. I was involved as a community member before I got on the MAC and saw kind of how things were working and liked that. I will say that my goal right now as chair is there's really 2 goals. One is to keep these meetings moving, but the other is to keep these meetings relevant. And so I really want to hear from you all about topics, and that includes public, by the way, about topics that you'd like covered. Now, not all topics that are brought to us are in our purview or jurisdiction, right? So we sometimes will have to say no, but I still want to hear about it. And I really want to get all of you should all be crafting agendas and helping us figure out what topics are relevant to you and your community. So that's really important for me this year. So thank you all. I'm going to move on then. All got our announcements out.
We can have our alternates in the audience come up for public comment.
I'm sorry, I
and
forgot
introduce
about that.
themselves.
You're right. Thank you. Is it Yvonne?
Yeah.
Yes, Yvonne, can you come up and introduce yourself, please? Thank you for being here.
Yeah. And her located on the Zoom.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll do it in person first.
Speak towards the owl.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm Yvonne Green. I am the alternate for Guerneville. I've lived in Guerneville for 10 years, but it's been a second home for me and my family, originally from Santa Rosa. And I do have a public comment concerning the latest flooding incident in Guerneville. But first, I want to send my heartfelt thoughts and prayers to the family of Renee Cole-Good, who was senselessly killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis yesterday. And I think we can all agree that may she rest in peace. So I was informed, I just want to bring some concerns to the council that were brought to my attention from the community. I was informed there was no signage for flooding or closure for a period of time on Armstrong Woods Road after the road was completely submerged. The same issues along 116 and Pocket Canyon and River Road West, which would be extremely dangerous if it had been dark or if we had lost power. Can the county officials or district supervisor implement flood monitors for the residents along 5 Creek on Armstrong Woods Road, similar to Green Valley Road live cameras, and have road maintenance physically present in flood prone areas prior to flooding to deploy flood signs before flooding occurs. Also, I sent a flood control resolution.
I'm gonna stop you for a
I
second.
know it's 2 minutes.
Yeah. Just didn't want you to get
I'm almost
caught.
done, I'm
Okay.
almost done. Also sent a possible flood control barrier solution for Armstrong Woods Road to Che Casual, the Community Initiative Department of Sonoma County. And I would hope that that would be considered as a prioritized infrastructure purpose. Concerning Rio Nito Road as an alternate access road, there is much needed traffic control for the traffic coming down Rio Nito Road for the residents with only one way out of Armstrong Woods Road. During flooding, it was backed up quite a bit. And that's pretty much it. Can County officials guarantee coordinated traffic control, maintenance, clearing, and repair of access, emergency access roads and fire access roads prior to flooding or fire situations, which is extremely important for all West County residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
Thank
council.
you very much for having me.
Anybody else in the room as an alternate?
You know, and I
How about
don't,
online?
I don't see, I see.
Patty thinks
Warren,
Brian should be on.
who isn't, Brian is on, yes, so let me, he doesn't have his hand raised.
Just
Bring him into the room.
Brian, raise your hand.
I'm sorry, we don't
Can
need
you
to
hear
take
me?
up time.
Yes, now we can hear you.
I don't have any
Listen.
comments tonight, but I'm super honored to be a part of this and grateful to be here.
That's
Thank you
me.
for-
Hello? Hello?
Maria.
Can
Yeah,
you hear me?
hello, who is this?
Chris Morin?
Who is this?
Chris Morin.
Oh, yes, you had your hand up, but this is council member comment. Are you,
Oh,
I know
We
no.
haven't moved.
we're
to
not,
public.
we're not to public comment yet.
Okay.
In just a minute,
Okay.
just a minute. Okay? All right, so now we can move to public comment in the room. Anyone in the room who has a comment to make about something not on the agenda? Yes, come up to the podium, please, so they can see you online and hear you online.
We're here.
Sorry, hear you.
Tia Rayler, I live in Greenville. I just wanted to find out if it's within your jurisdiction to look into enforcement for the county doing fire clearance along roads, because we've got fire ladders up our hillside really bad. And also parking. I used to call the CHP about people parking in the middle of the road. And they'd go, oh, well, everybody parks in the middle of the road. Everett Creo said that too. Everybody, parks illegally. It's becoming scarier. It's becoming scarier. So it'd be really nice if there's some way to get the CHP to do better enforcement and for the fire people to do more enforcement. And I totally give up on the PRMD.
May I ask which part of Guerneville?
And we
Oh,
can't
sorry.
interact with public
Got it.
comment. But what I will do is give you, my colleague Chase Pessel's card, and he would be point on those topics for our office, for the District 5 office.
Okay, so I just call him.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
thank
already
you.
know.
And
What, which road was it to? Which road specifically, or was it your big road? Okay.
no,
Well,
maybe we can, maybe we can keep moving. Any more public comment out in the room? Anybody else? How about online? Debbie, we know we have somebody.
We have Chris online. Chris, please unmute to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Chris Morin and
Yes.
how are you?
Great, thanks. Happy New Year.
Okay, I'm calling and speaking on behalf of my father-in-law, Joseph Morin, not Joseph Morin, Dan Morin. Joseph's my husband, okay? So he lives on Highway 116 in Guerneville. My father-in-law has been living in Guerneville for almost 30 years and will be 80 years old next month. I'm calling because we have some concerns regarding the county maintained road above him, Old Monte Rio Road, and the culvert that has not been cleaned out since 2013. My father-in-law has emailed the county several times from 2013, 14, and all 18, and also recently into July 2025, expressing his concern about the condition of the culvert as it's not been maintained and has always been full of just trash and mud and everything. Of recently, not recently, because of the recent floods in the area, the two properties next to him have had significant instability, and their hillsides have failed. Hence, he's extremely concerned about his property. Since 2013, water has come up from the culvert, overflowed onto his property, and all the way down to the highway. This last heavy rain has caused the water to run underneath his home. I want to know, and he wants to know too, he's on the phone as well, but not signed in. What is going to be done, or what can be done for somebody to please take action or come out and have a look at this? You know, he's been told that there's no money in the budget, and then in July, somebody said that they'll look at it and then they'll put it on a list. Well, what are we going to have to do for somebody to come out? Is the tree going to have to hit the highway again? Is the car going to have to be flooded out? My father-in-law is extremely, concerned and worried, and we are too. We live in Southern California, but we are also property owners in Monterey. So we are up there like at least every 2 months.
And Chris, that is 2 minutes.
Okay, can somebody
Thank you.
please take our information so that we can get a representative to come out and see our concerns?
We'll share the District 5 email for future contact. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you. Anybody else online?
Tracy, do we have any other online
Public comments?
public comments?
No other hands raised online?
Okay, we'll move to the next item, which is our county update, and I see that Linda's here. I thought you were gonna be online, so nice to see you. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year. And we actually have a whole team because we wanted to provide you all with a timely update on the storm impacts and the sewage spill. So I'll get to that at the end. So I will start with some other quick updates. As you are probably all aware, there was about 100-foot washout between Monterey and Duncan's Mills along 116 with one-way traffic control. That is under Caltrans jurisdiction. And I was actually just sharing with Jeff Duvall that we first heard about it from constituents. Then we got it from the Department of Emergency Management. Then we read about it in the Press Democrat. And then many hours later, we got an email from Caltrans. So that's kind of par for the course. And they are saying supposedly that it's probably going to take a year to repair, which would mean a year of one-way traffic control, which is definitely going to be challenging in the summer and kind of a concern for fire season. They did put an asterisk that was initial prediction based on similar washouts near Guerneville where there were water and sewer mains involved. There are not water mains and sewer mains involved in this one, so it may be a faster fix, but this is Caltrans, so I am not going to get my hopes up on them being fast in the lower Russian River. Supposedly, we should have a more concrete idea of timeline within the next couple of weeks, and we will let you know as soon as we hear from them. Or maybe we'll do about Press Democrat first. So never know.
We all will.
Thank you. I think that you brought up already just a reminder that we do have a Forestville Town Hall coming up Thursday, February 5th, and there will be more details about that going out in our email newsletter next week, including the agenda and the topics. Also, some really exciting news right where we are. The West County Service Center has expanded hours beginning January 12th. So our service navigator, Lupe Catalan, will actually be here Monday through Thursday from 9 to 5, helping folks navigate county government. We will have Medi-Cal and CalFresh assistance available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Tuesdays. Previously that. And Human Services will continue to provide assistance with the cash aid program on Thursday afternoon. And as a reminder, we also have a small food pantry for kind of emergency needs. Folks can take up to 7 items. And we also have a clothes closet in my office back there that has both kids' clothes, adults' clothes, diapers, toys, all kinds of things. So
do you need donations to those?
Yeah,
You take
absolutely.
donations from
Absolutely,
okay.
yep. Mm-hmm. yeah, we have a whole kind of organized system back in there. Since he didn't brag on it, I'm going to brag on something that I heard about that I am super excited about, which is Fungi Fest, which is going to be happening. So I don't know if you want to share.
Sure, absolutely, and we'll definitely remind everyone the next MAC meeting, but February 21st and 22nd, put on by the Russian River Chamber of Commerce and Solar Punk Farms. We are doing a 2-day festival mainly to get people here in Guerneville and beyond in West County during the off season. So kind of the primary objective is to help out businesses and locals, get people to enjoy the Russian River in the winter and enjoy our fungal ecology. So super excited. It's going to be the first year and it's all coming together. I have a ton of interest, more interest than we can possibly imagine. So it's going to be fun. Excited about it.
So get your tickets.
Yeah, get your tickets. Yeah.
So I also did want to mention, since the OCS or Outer Continental Shelf issue came up during board member comments, that we have actually joined a coalition of local governments opposing offshore drilling, and we actually allocated funding towards that. So we are working with Santa Cruz County, who is kind of holding the space for this coalition. The funding is going to them, and they are actually hiring our local phenomenal advocate, Richard Charter, to lead the charge in opposition. And he was involved in these battles decades ago, and we are essentially kind of rekindling, hopefully what will be a statewide coalition of local governments in opposition to offshore drilling. I also wanted to respond to the no parking anytime versus no overnight parking. And actually Armstrong Woods is on both of those lists. So part of Armstrong Woods Road is no parking anytime. Another part of Armstrong Woods Road is on no overnight parking. That was approved by the board on October 7th, 2025. And under attachment C, the mile markers are there to sort of say where it's no parking anytime versus no overnight. And I will actually give just a list of the no parking anytime roads. Again, it's not the complete road, but it is a subset. It does include a portion of Armstrong Woods Road, Mill Street, Moscow Road, River Drive, and River Road. On the no overnight list, we have 3rd, 5th, Armstrong Woods, Church, First, and Mill. And so this was done, and there was a lot of conversations back and forth, with local business owners and folks who had expressed concerns about this. And the good thing about this list is that we can roll this out and we can start to enforce this. And if there are modifications that need to be made, we can modify this. But this was really designed to address, we've had a lot of concerns about pedestrians trying to walk on Armstrong Woods. We toyed around with, could we do like no parking during school hours? Because there are kids who walk along there, to school. That's impossible to enforce, to be candid. If you're just saying you can't do it during school pickup and school drop off, that is why a section is no parking anytime. And then we also wanted to address the challenges that we have where, unfortunately, sometimes we have trailers and vehicles that are parked and just encamped in downtown Guerneville. And that is where the no parking overnight came from. It's something that we could actually enforce, because then you can actually get CHP out there to tag, and you don't have to wait for the sort of 72 hours and go through a whole process. It actually becomes more quick to move folks along so that we don't have our downtown taken over by that. So let's see, other updates. I also wanted to share some good news about the Grayton Day Labor Center. They actually just launched a program on January 5th, which is called CLG Assist, which CLG stands for Centro Laboral de Grayton. And it is a community program actually funded through our Tourism Impact Fund that employs underemployed day laborers and provides free home support services to vulnerable West County residents. And those free support services can include house cleaning, light home maintenance, fire fuel mitigation, and yard work and landscaping. And the folks who are eligible to receive services include seniors, single parent households, and people with disabilities. And so we actually have a QR code. We can leave that by the door if you'd like to learn more. You can also go to GraytonDayLaborCenter.org. And I actually want to give a huge amount of credit to services navigator Lupe Long, who convened a meeting with other members out there. We heard loud and clear it's some of the vulnerable residents in West County, but also put people to work. So it's kind of a hopefully a win-win for folks. So so that is the goal, is to help folks get to work and then to do some good work, and reducing wildfire risk is always important. Now, last, but and I also just wanted to mention that we will follow up on that old Monterey Road. And so did search my email and I could not find anything. But we're providing the District 5 email. If we get a fresh email, we can follow up on that whole issue in particular. Now on the sewage spill that I was notified about on Tuesday morning. I was in, I would say, constant communication with Sonoma Water and also with the Department of Emergency Management. And I am really, really proud of the work that the county did. Led by the Department of Emergency Management, we really did have a multi-departmental response. No one ever wants to see raw sewage going into the river, full stop. And we are going to do an after-action report and an investigation into exactly why this happened. I actually already have a follow-up meeting scheduled for Monday out at the treatment plant, where we're going to spend a few hours talking it through, talking about solutions, talking about the investments that we need to try to prevent something like this from happening again. But when something like that happens, when what hits the fan, it is good actually when people work together to try to protect public health. And so we had a really rapid response. We got signs up, out of an abundance of caution. They went along the coastal beaches as well. And we also had testing that was being conducted not only by Sonoma Water, but also by public health. So we had multiple departments going out to try to make sure, that we had accurate data about what was going on in the river. The good news is that the sewage did stop flowing. The experts would start with Jeff, who kind of helped organize the multi-departmental response, and he can also touch on cameras came up as well about flooding. I think it was Yvonne, right? That and so we actually have a pilot project for out on Green Valley Road. And Jeff is kind of in the early stages of investigating how to, look at the future. So we find out well.
Good evening, Chair, members of MAC. My name is Jeff DePaul, Director for the Department of role and responsibility of preparing the county, both our community members and the county government, for any emergency or disaster that comes our way. And that also includes working with our 9 cities and all of our special districts with the county. So the week up before this storm came to Sonoma, we were tracking the storm, talking to our partners, the National Weather Service, and that we had already gotten here in Sonoma County. How much rain was projected, atmospheric river levels, working with our partners at Sonoma Water over what river or lake levels up at Lake Sonoma, Lake Mendocino, because when we look at rain and projected rain here in Sonoma County, we have to go way up to where the watershed starts, and that's way up in Mendocino County, and then also looking way out into Napa and way out into Marin, and look at what everything that feeds our watershed is going to impact that. As most of you probably aware, here on the Lower Russian River, we did activate our Lower Russian River and our Upper Russian River notifications. So you've got the SoCo alerts and the wireless emergency alerts that we're going to go up into action stage. Russian River has 3 different levels. We have the action stage, which is at 29 feet to 34, 35 feet. And that's pre-flood. And then we get into minor flood, moderate flood, and then major flood. We haven't had major flood since 2019 was the last time we had the major flood here in Sonoma County. So my department's tracking that, watching that, and then also reaching out to all of our stakeholders, all of our different county departments, county roads, public health, our care and shelter group under human services, and putting everyone on standby, and everyone's getting ready to go. And we're also talking to our special districts, the cities, Sonoma Water, and everyone is preparing for the projections that are coming out there. Upon when we were notified, we actually get notified 2 different ways for this incident here with the sanitation plant. One, Sonoma Water has an emergency manager. They immediately notified our duty officer of the incident, And at the same time, under different regulations, they're required to make what's called a spill report. So when you make that spill report in the state of California, we also get a copy of that. Environmental Health also gets a copy of that. And then that also triggers us to, if, say they didn't call us, we reach out to them and go, hi, what's going on? How can we help you and what can we do? After talking to Sonoma Water's emergency manager and also to their management team, obviously at this point, many different players that are coming to the table. And with that, our department activated what we call our Department Operations Center. So think of it as an emergency operations center, but it's very focused instead of countywide, just to my department and my department staff, so that we can support what this is going on out in the field. And with that, we activated what we call our joint information system, because now there's a lot of information to push out to you, the community. So that was a joint effort between the Department of Emergency Management, County Central Communications Team, the Department of Public Health, and Sonoma Water. So it's all of our public information folks coming together, cross-leveling the information, and then us pushing out one unified message to the community. And at the same time, also working with our public health officer. Obviously, with the incident, taking a look at what measures need to be taken place, as we've seen, closing down water accesses from the treatment plant all the way out to the ocean, and also taking that extra preventative step of moving up the beaches and along the coastline and restricting water access. At the same time, we were helping host operational coordination calls, because now you've got several different operational people working in this. So you've got Sonoma Water, you got Department of Public Health, you have public health preparedness, environmental health, state parks is a part of that, county regional parks was a part of that call, and just cross-leveling the operational tasks that need to be done. And at the same time, just making sure that we're all in from day one, pushing out for the mission. With that, again, it's all about public safety, and it's all about public health since day one on that, and also making sure that that information is getting pushed out to you. So again, you got the additional SOCO alert about the not entering the waterways. The sheriff came to the table and also issued a NICS alert. There's signage along the Russian River and along our coast, both from Sonoma Water and from our environmental health folks. And then we're going to continue this coordination piece all the way up into the point to where Sonoma Water and environmental health say, okay, we're good to go back to normal operation. And that's what we do as a Department of Emergency Management. We establish these multi-agency coordination teams, bring all the players together to help facilitate that coordination, that collaboration, those tasks. And then also follow up on any open tasks that are left in these meetings as well. And before I turn it over to Sonoma Water, any questions?
Nope.
I just wanted, it may not be for you. This happens regularly.
Yeah.
And I understand you're addressing what you do once the spill occurs to try and protect public safety. But I really am curious about what we know that every year we're gonna have atmospheric rivers, we're gonna have a ton of water going in. What's being done to prevent spills rather than let people know that another one has occurred? Because as I understand it, once these spills occur, then there's this huge fine levied on the facility. And they've got, rather than trying to pay for repairs. And so, yeah, I really want to know, what can we do to stop this from happening in the winters when we know there's going to be these torrential rains and all this extra water headed toward that plant?
Definitely. I'll let Sonoma Water answer that when they come up. So definitely don't want to misspeak, but.
I think my question is also for Sonoma Water.
And
being the next door neighbor.
And since Supervisor Hawkins brought it up, the Green Valley road camera has been an amazing pilot. We watch that camera when events are going on. I know our county fire dispatch center, Redcom, is watching that camera. Even when we have calls out in that area, we're sitting there watching that camera and watching the rescue or whatever the event is. And that was really a good pilot to see what's working, what's not working. And it's really gotten our collective heads together between the Department of Emergency Management, Sonoma Water, and also public infrastructure. And what we're doing right now is we're looking to that going, this is a very useful and powerful tool. what is the best way for us to move forward and to duplicate this across the county? Because we've got a list. I have a list of my office a mile long, but where we need cameras. So what is the right way to do this? The smart way to do this moving forward? And the most productive way for all agencies and partners involved in this. And I don't want to go too deep down into it because there's still a lot of research that we have to do and some studies that we need to do first, but we think that we found a way. We have also looked at another couple counties who have this exact program in place. And I look forward from snow, water, and public infrastructure to have that conversation of what this looks like going out forward and what it's going to take to get that pilot study full circle. So some
Good.
exciting times coming.
We all have a list, by the way, of roads that we know are gonna be problematic when something like this happens, but anyway, thank you for the
Quick
process.
question on that.
Is it on the process or?
No, will it be your, I'm sorry, now I lost my head, but will your group be the one spearheading and implementing if it does move forward, or does it get?
It will be a combined effort.
Okay.
If it comes full circle, it'll be a combined effort on one of our partners' current systems in place.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening, Sheriff Clues, board members. Thanks for having me. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances that I get to meet you all for the first time. My name is David Royal. I'm with Sonoma County Water Agency. I am Assistant General Manager of our Operations and Maintenance Division. And the Russian River Treatment Plant is under our purview. And yes, we did, as Director Hopkins spoke on the morning of January 6th, we did begin overflowing at the plant. And fortunately, this morning, as of about 6:50, the overflow ceased. Crews worked around the clock at the plant. We had staff camping out at the plant for the last 3 days, doing their best to keep the processes going, to treat as much wastewater as possible so that we could distribute it, into the system in the treated manner. Unfortunately, we were so overwhelmed by the stormwater that came in, we were overflowing at one of our basins. We're in the process now of determining the volume of wastewater that was spilled. And then, as Director Hopkins mentioned, we're also doing after actions to discuss what happened in this event, what we can do in the future to prevent this from happening, to Vice Chair's question, and hopefully get a good handle on what we can do. As many of you may understand from back in 2019, we had, when the town of Gurnville flooded, we had overflows in our collection system. Vacation Beach was one of those areas. And what our goal was, in working in collaboration with the regional board, was to cease having overflows in the collection system itself. We'll bring as much of that wastewater into the plant as possible. And therefore, if we're going to overflow, it'll at least get partial treatment, or it'll occur in an area where we don't have public residences located. And so I feel, I don't want to say pleased that we were able to do it that way, but we were not spilling in the city streets, which I think is a big victory. The goal, obviously, is to have no overflows whatsoever in our system. And as the Vice Chair also indicated, we have all these atmospheric rivers now. This seems to be more commonplace than ever. It's not so much 100 or 500 years of a system that comes through. We're feeling it regularly every winter. And in those winters where we don't have problems, we look at that as a real victory. But one thing I'd like to say is that that plant normally brings in about 3.5 million gallons during a storm event. That's what we're permitted to take in. And in this storm event, we were bringing up the order of 4 to 5 million gallons. If you prorate that across the whole time, we're about 4 to 5 million gallons coming into the plant. And what that means is that our storage capacity was compromised. And as all of that new water is coming in, mixed with not only rainwater and stormwater, but some river water, the processes that we use to treat the wastewater was washed out through the system. In other words, all of our biological process was flushed. And so we're no longer able to effectively treat the wastewater coming in. So as a result, we have to store that water temporarily until we're able to process it and then run it back through the system. Upon doing that, as the rainfall continued, suddenly our storage ponds reached capacity and we were no longer able to store or treat effectively. And so that's when we went over the top of the holding basins, down through the redwood forest and then into the Russian River. So it was at that point that we did the reporting that Jeff talked about, where we notified LOES. And I think that's the trigger that gets Jeff involved, public health involved. And so immediately, meetings were called to assemble all of us in a meeting to talk about what our next steps were gonna be. And I must say, Jeff, I was very, very impressed with that process. And all of our ongoing meetings have been very, very productive. We have meetings set up for tomorrow to talk about, what next steps are gonna be once we start getting our sampling results in place. And what that will mean in terms of removal of signage up and down the river and on the coast. So I just want to emphasize to all of you that Sonoma Water staff in our O&M division are committed to making this plant and this collection system work, not only in Guerneville, but the other sanitation districts that we manage. And there are moments when we are overwhelmed by these big storm events. And the plants are not designed to take on that kind of water during these storm events. They're designed for normal flows or somewhat enhanced storm flows. But when you get into these big atmospheric river events, there's no way you can design a plant to that level. The footprint just isn't big enough to have that kind of storage capacity. So again, what I said is we have been sampling during the event. We sampled again today after the event stopped. Public health is also taking samples upstream, downstream, and coast. And we're going to convene a meeting and a group to talk about these river samples and what the test results are indicating. And what impact our overflows at the treatment plant are having on the health of the river and all the way out to the coast. We will be getting, as Director Hopkins mentioned, and after, and we're also having those meetings at Sonoma Water with our engineering group to determine what happened in this event, what can we do in the future to help prevent that. We have staff working around the clock at the plant to try to clean up after this event and then get our processes back online. But as I mentioned, the biological processes that got washed out take some time to get back online. And what we did do in collaboration with our Sonoma Valley treatment plant is had some of their bugs from their treatment processes brought to Russian River so that we can kind of jumpstart and reignite the biological processes in Russian River. So I guess at this point, I'd like to say we are working diligently to take care of this initial event, and we continue to press forward with solutions for how we can stop this in the future. I would be very happy to take any questions that you all may have.
Questions from?
I was just wondering, because we had the king tides, whether any of that flow went up the local creeks. And if there was any concern about testing those.
Right, that's a great question, because I know in Marin County and parts of Petaluma, we had problems with the king tides. I think we're far enough up the Russian River that there was really no impact from the king tide. I think out of an abundance of caution, that's why signs were posted farther up above, Russian River than the treatment plant itself, just to make sure if there were impacts that we weren't aware of from the spill itself, we could keep the public safe at that point. But that's a great question, and I've heard it asked before. Yes.
Go ahead.
What are some of the options that you're considering for preventing this in the
Right.
future?
So one thing that we've been doing, we're actively pursuing options to eliminate some of the pinch points in the piping in our treatment plant. What that will allow us to do is to move more water through the system faster. In addition to that, what would be beneficial is to have additional storage facilities on place where we could store, like if we get into another situation like this where we can't treat, we have larger capacity storage available, so we can take that water offline, store it until our systems are up and running, and then run it back through the system. But rather than having to overflow at our existing ponds, we'll have additional storage available.
Makes sense.
I have two questions. The forest, and probably including the Clark tree.
Yes.
How is that going to be cleaned up, if it's going to be cleaned up?
Right, so good question, and part of that answer, it would be interesting to be able to bring you out to the plant when we're experiencing these situations. The water that's coming out of our basins, one would probably visualize as being like a dark brown sludgy sewer. When we have these big storm events, that water is so diluted from the stormwater. Whatever's running over is still high in some biological components. But essentially what's happening is the floor of the forest on its way to the river is helping to filter out some of those biological nutrients. There will be, you know, where there's ponding at the end of this, we'll go in and we'll try to clean up some of the ponded water. But once these bacteria are exposed to sunlight and the atmosphere, they dissipate rapidly. So there will not be a wholesale cleanup of the forest floor, but the standing water where biological nutrients still exist will be dealt with.
Is there runoff that goes through there off the ridge line anyway in the winter?
Yes, I mean, I'm sure.
I haven't been down there in years, but.
Yeah, there are drainage channels coming off that whole property.
Yeah.
Some of it goes towards Neely Road, some of it goes towards the river on that
Right.
side. So yeah, there's definitely some natural channels. What we also do at that property is we use that for irrigation in the summertime, so that we're not discharging to the river, but we're helping to irrigate the forest essentially with a tertiary treated water. Does that answer?
Yeah, more or less, but my second real question was, it's more of a curious question, because I live 2 doors down from the gates.
Okay.
And it was, I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday afternoon. We went up to walk the dog, and there was a sound, a mechanical sound. Wasn't quite as loud as the generator when the power goes off, which will wake you up at night. But we can tell, you know, and I was like, is the generator on down there? Is there power out? Was there some kind of pump system? Because usually it's silent.
Right. So one thing that could have been happening, I mean, we did not lose power out there. One
No,
thing
you
that
didn't.
could have been happening is that as we're trying to pump around the system, trying to keep it in a circle until we have the opportunity to treat. Perhaps that was the pumping you were hearing that might have been different than normal. I'll look into that and get a more definitive answer, and I can share that with District 5.
Yeah, it was just really, really strange, because we don't usually hear that.
Understood.
Any other questions from council?
I have one.
Okay.
I work in climate change, so I'm very sympathetic to the fact that we're constantly facing unprecedented storms. And so I don't really like position this in a failure state, and more like, you're right, we probably didn't design considering that we're gonna have increasingly massive atmospheric rivers every year. A warmer atmosphere holds more water, it causes more rain. And so I just want to be thinking about, you know, so how is this something that we adapt to over time and have a long-term vision around? And I know that that's probably part of the county's general plan. But I think it's just something to keep in mind, that I see this as something that it's probably going to continue to get untenable in different ways. And I think as a community, our best bet is to figure out ways that we can be more resilient to this, because it's going to happen again.
Agreed. That's a good point. One thing I know that Director Hopkins or Supervisor Hopkins is interested in, as well as the water agency and all of the, you know, residents out in West County, is perhaps a more regional approach to wastewater treatment. And so we're looking at that. What came out of our sewer spills in 2019 was a project to start to look at that seriously. And so that is something that we're working on to see if it makes sense to bring in other neighborhoods, move it away from maybe this plant and go to another plant in West County. So we are looking ahead at a more resilient way to run all of our wastewater systems. And it's definitely something that's on our engineering team's mind on a regular basis.
Plan, something for that.
Yeah, sure.
Brad Sherwood, I'm the Assistant General Manager at Sonoma Water of our Business Services and External Affairs Division. So it's our team that works with our government affairs advocates in Washington, DC and Sacramento on climate change issues. And we have a phenomenal, one of the few water agencies in the state of California that actually have a climate adaptation plan that is coordinated with our engineering and O&M departments. And would love to sit down with you and kind of walk through that, because we actually have a dedicated team of staff, which is rare in California water, that's fully focused on climate adaptation. So we take it very serious. That's at the direction from our board. So would love to sit down with you and nerd out on that.
Yeah.
And I also want to just focus on the transparency of this incident. I've been at the water agency for 20 years, focusing on public information, community outreach. I have spent a lot of time in Guerneville. I'm also a former MAC member of the Mark West area MAC. After the Tubbs fire, I got involved, and so I love the MAC, love what you do, and I really do believe that this relationship, we need to improve upon that. And would love to have normal updates from Sonoma Water at your MAC meetings, because we are such a huge part of your community. And I would love to have a Russian River mural someplace in town that shows the beauty of the system, because we literally it's our baby, it's our heart. I mean, for Sonoma Water, the Russian River, that's our baby, and we've got to take damn good care of it. And you all are in that heart, so to have a bigger, better presence here, I'm all in, and I know Linda's all in, so would love.
Walls.
I'm getting some walls, and we will do some awesome work. But our public information team, just like the O&M team, they've been working around the clock the last 3 days to make sure that social media updates are made, NICS alerts are correct, SOCO alerts done, website. So would love to do, while we do an after action report with our county departments, I would love to do one with the community. What worked, what didn't work in terms of community engagement. So that's, I guess, my big ask from this MAC, is if we can come back and maybe do that together. So that would be awesome.
That's absolutely what we would love to have happen, and
Definitely.
really to focus on the climate issues, I think, for all of us. But looking at community engagement is actually something that we also are going to talk about in a little bit, and how we can get the flow of information going both directions.
Great.
So
Exciting.
love to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred. Any other questions?
I just want to make the comment that,
Yes.
I think the response was wonderful.
Yeah.
I think all of us can agree that you guys were quick, you were thorough, the information got out there, the actions you took were with an abundance of caution. And I think what we all can also agree on is that our system is inadequate.
Yeah.
And that it's been in need of investment for decades, if not centuries. Haven't been around that long. But I think that's really what's on all of our minds, and this climate change just exacerbates that, but even without climate change, it was inadequate. And we're not going to be subtracting users. We're going to be adding. So I think we'd all like to know the future in terms of adapting to making this usable, making this safe. And again, you guys are doing your jobs really well. It's not about what you're doing, it's about what we need to do.
Well stated. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Can I add something to what you said? The other concern besides capacity is expense. And that's a big part of a lot of property owners.
Agreed.
Concern.
Agreed. And I think the challenge there is that with a small district, we have some 3,500 users. The cost to maintain and upgrade a system of this size is really, it falls as a burden on the limited number of residents that live in this community.
And that's been very hard for them.
Of course, I mean, we hear that, and I know whenever we bring rate increases into this community, it's, here we go again. I understand that, and we sympathize with that. But as you see what we're faced with, we have to find that balance between the right rate increase and the proper amount of repairs and upgrades to our system. So sure, but I hear you, and that does not fall on deaf ears.
Well, I think there's enough here to warrant a full agenda perhaps at some point. So thank you.
Of course.
And then we do have one other, subject
Okay,
matter
'cause
expert
we-
to bring up, if that's okay. I know
We
we're running
hijacked
late.
everything
I
at this
know.
point, so
I know.
let's do it.
We felt that it was, so this is Christine Sosko, and she is the head of environmental health for public health. And so just wanted her to share the response on the public health side.
Thank you.
So I think a lot of this has been shared already, and thank you for having me here tonight. What, for environmental health, when we're brought into this, we are located within public health and we work very closely with the health officer. So like everything that was said, out of an abundance of caution, we did posting at all the recreational beaches along the ocean and along the river. And then as of yesterday afternoon, we started doing sampling along the ocean, and then today we did sampling at all the recreational beaches along the Russian River that we had access to. There were a
Yeah.
couple we couldn't get into. And then all the beaches along the river. We're hoping to have those results back, maybe as early as tomorrow, late tomorrow, or Saturday. Our public health lab is working over the weekend to make sure we can get those results. So that once we do have those results, we can all get together, talk about what we want to do, how we want to change the posting based on the results that we have. The way our program works is we generally will put out an advisory as soon as we're notified of a sewage spill or anything like that. And then once the spill stops, we would do testing. We do 2 different sets of testing. We do our first set of biological testing, and then the second set, which is the confirmatory samples. So we're starting to get some of our first samples back now, and we're waiting to get those second samples back. Once we get those, we can change notices and posting appropriately. And like was said earlier too, we made the decision to do the entire Russian River so that we can really see what's happening upstream, downstream, and what is maybe being influenced by what has occurred. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions or comments? No, but thank you for your work.
Anybody on board?
Yeah.
And there's one, just quick wrap up. I really appreciate the offer and the conversation around a follow-up meeting. And I might suggest that we kind of agendize potentially an update about the regionalization study, which I think is very salient, as well as maybe a presentation of after action lessons learned, maybe a few months out. I also might suggest that we kind of bring along the CAG, the Citizens Advisory Group, that has been diving into lower Russian River wastewater issues for years. We've got a lot of local subject matter experts, and maybe we could bring them in as part of the meeting as well, and have a big conversation because, you know, honestly, like the system was inadequate when it was built, and to the point of, I actually used to blame Ernie Carpenter for the fact that like Monterey and Villa Grande didn't have sewer system. And then a friend of mine who worked for the regional board presented me with a sanitation study that dated back to the 1940s. And I was like, that's even older than Ernie Carpenter. So I can't blame him anymore. Like, we've known about this for a long time. And we have never kind of built the infrastructure that is needed by all lower Russian River communities, nor have we built something that can really withstand the kinds of environmental pressures that we honestly have always experienced, but are experiencing, I think, with increasing intensity and frequency. So my hope is that, you know, this event, as horrible as it has been, will provide a sense of urgency and an impetus for real lasting change. And because of these studies, which were ironically partially funded by the sort of failure in 2019, and were negotiated very carefully and artfully by county council, who was able to convince the regional board not to just take our money and put it in a state fund where we would never see a dime of it, but actually take that money and reinvest it in the system in terms of looking at long-term solutions. And so that was kind of the deal that was struck with the regional board at the time. And maybe this time we can start talking about implementing those solutions that we have invested in studying. So
I think
So,
we'd
yeah.
all love to hear what might be able to happen, what has happened in terms of the regionalization. I would love to hear more about that. So yeah, I think getting it on the agenda is
It's gonna be a few months out, because I think it's gonna take us a little while. to,
Yes.
Adjust everything, so to speak.
Yes.
No more poop, we've had way too many poop there for the last 48 hours. I'm gonna stop there.
Yeah.
And I think we still have to go to public comment, so if there are any questions, we can refer. out to-
Betsy, can we?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll send you an email.
Okay.
Public- Thank you. Public comment in the room? Online? Any hands up?
I'm not seeing any hands raised online.
Okay.
And while we're still on county update, I have two quick things
that's right.
to add in. One of them is I want to distribute to you all the representatives and the alternates if you're here. The Sonoma County Advisory Board Handbook. Last spring, there was the all math meeting. This is something that the county came up with as a result of that. So I'm gonna just take one and pass it along. I think there's probably more there. It's a work in progress. There's a few things in it that are already outdated, so it'll keep growing and changing, but I wanted you all to have that and have a chance to look at it. And then the other thing is a message from Ty, actually. He is involved with Leadership Santa Rosa, and on February 19th, he is helping to put together a Get Involved fair. And he wanted to put an invitation out if any MAC members would want to be there. It's their Government and Politics Day. And so if anybody wants to table and talk about what it's like to be on the MAC, get in touch with me or get in touch with Ty. He didn't have the exact timing for it yet, but it'll be in the afternoon on Thursday, February 19th. Yeah. And that's all from
Is
me.
that- okay.
So now we go on to number 9, right?
Yes, the ad hoc committee's work on the lock project. Are you gonna be presenting the?
I will.
Okay. Oh, you sound so thrilled about it.
Am. So, I want to pretend nobody knows anything about this project, just in case some of you don't know anything about the project. We created this ad hoc, which consists of Patty, Betsy, Spencer, and I, to discuss the project and its ramifications, and to gather feedback. However, we were late in being able to send it before the decision was made to move forward with the project. So I'm going to be talking about the project, talk about all the issues that we are aware of with this, and garner other issues from members of the council and the audience that we can add to that list. And then Debbie is going to help facilitate meetings with various agencies and individuals to answer these questions as best we can. So the project, if you don't know, is a 108-room high-end resort hotel on 9.6 acres on the Russian River next to Dubrava in Gernwood Park. The site once housed Gernwood Park Resort and Tavern, which after a century of operation burned down in 1963. What was an outbuilding became Ginger's Rancho, which I was really pleased to remember because I hadn't remembered. It's like, yeah, Ginger's Rancho. Vandals burned that down in 74. The property's been vacant ever since, though the public beach remains. The project as approved includes a spa, restaurant, gym, pool, bar, 2 meeting spaces for up to 500 people, and will be composed of 2 main buildings with 80 rooms, 4 detached buildings with 28 rooms, a pool house, gatehouse, and bathrooms. There are 150 parking spaces, 25 more are reserved for public use to access the beach. There'll be an ADA trail from the parking lot to the beach. The owner is Chris Locke, a Petaluma resident who's principal at Locke Hospitality. They built the Fairfield Inn and Sebastopol and Quality Inn in Petaluma. Planning discussions began in 2009, so this has been around. MAC ad hoc reviewed and commented on the project in both 2020 and 2023. After adapting to Planning Commission and CEQA requirements, the project received a mitigated negative declaration and conditional use permit in 2023. As I said, we formed this Karen ad hoc on December 11th, when we received word that the project was on the agenda of design review, but could not meet in time to comment to the committee before its meeting on December 17th, where the project got final approval. At each of these stages, the public has been invited to meetings and to comment on the project, and dozens of comments were made at each. So while the project has been approved, there are real issues that residents have raised, and they're entitled to answers. So what we aim to do is to create this list, as I described earlier, and see what we come up with for answers. I've been hearing from many members of the community for years about this, Tia. And we all have, and we've all contributed what we know. So here's a list. Number one, the building height was reduced by 1 story to accommodate the capability of the fire district, which does not have a ladder truck. Since then, the buildings were required to be raised above flood level. Are they still within the 35-foot limit? Second, there is concern about light pollution. Are all lights required to be shielded and down facing? Third, the sewer system. Despite rate increases of 62% in the past 10 years, with an additional 9% in 2023, we've had numerous failures of the pump stations, including this last one. The lift stations, according to an inspection done at the county's behest, cannot handle any added capacity, and the system was deemed to need $47 million in repairs by another county-funded study. Adding this resort and the supportive housing project at the former George's Hideaway to the current facilities will add significant burden. It was stated at some point that the project would require the construction of a new wastewater treatment system. Is that happening? If not, how will the system handle it? And what are the consequences for upstream users? Next, traffic, another big one. The traffic study for the project was done in 2018. Conditions have changed a lot in the past 7 years, with more permanent residents and a lot more vacationers coming to the river and passing through the coast. For residents on the opposite side of 116 from the project, getting onto 116 in the summer, especially on weekends, is difficult and dangerous. There's only one way out for 798 single-family homes, 1,400 people and 1,500 cars, by a count done by residents on the 10th of December. Partially because mudslides and bridge washouts on Old Monte Rio Road, Old Cazadero Road, Duncan Road, and Summit Road have never been cleared to provide alternate routes. Traffic from the resort will only increase the problem. Is signalization being considered? Will those slides be cleared? The bridge rebuilt? Wildfires, another major concern. The ingress-egress issue I just described is particularly troubling in case of a wildfire, where everyone has to evacuate. Hotels are required to evacuate at the warning stage. Who will enforce this? The previous is assuming the fire is some distance away with time for a multi-stage evacuation. We've had multiple fires every year from encampments, so this is not unlikely that it is local. What's the plan? Roads in Gurnwood Park are choked by illegal parking on the sides of the road, impeding access by emergency vehicles and slowing evacuation. In the summer on weekends when vacation rentals are active, the issue is even worse. Why isn't CHP enforcing the 6 feet from center of the road regulation? Will this project compel them to start doing so? Next, water. Sweetwater Springs has a moratorium on new single-family home hookups very near the project, citing short supply. How can it handle this massive water user in addition to the supportive housing project with no designated funds from Sweetwater for capital improvements? The parking plan. The spaces may be adequate for overnight guests, but where will 500 people park during events? How will the availability of public beach parking be guaranteed? Are we trusting the hotel to enforce this? Accommodation of workers during construction. We're very short on housing and hotels here, and this will necessitate a sizable crew, probably not local. Where will they stay? How is the health and maintenance of the riparian corridor going to be monitored? 75 redwoods will be removed for this development. Redwoods thrive in communities, and breaking these up has an impact on the health of the trees. Is there a plan to minimize this impact and have ongoing evaluation of the health of the remaining trees? And lastly, getting from the resort to town, there are no sidewalks and some very narrow and dangerous areas of the road for folks who'd want to walk or ride bikes to town. It's only 0.8 of a mile to Safeway. This is important for the development to help the town economy. Are sidewalks part of the project? And to a point that Spencer made to us, many of these issues are the result of a lack of resources devoted to the lower Russian River. If our infrastructure was better maintained, the county would be better trusted by residents. Many of these issues wouldn't exist, and we'd be secure in knowing that the increased transit occupancy tax money obtained from this project would be used for the community's benefit. We know, Linda, that you fight for our fair share, and we hope that by highlighting risks that would not exist with proper investment, you're more successful in funding our way. That's my list. So I want to open it up, maybe first to the ad hoc and ask, did I miss anything?
Gosh, I think you got everything.
Good.
Yeah.
Any other? Oh, sorry, Spencer.
Oh, no, there was one more small thing, and that's workforce housing for the people who will actually work there.
Yeah.
Oh,
You mentioned that.
Not just
No, that's the
construction.
construction.
Oh,
This is about the people who would work there.
They're only gonna hire people who already live there.
Right.
Right.
Anybody else on the council who wants to add anything to the list?
Yeah, I was wondering about their general plan for emergencies. Apart from evacuations, if there were to be a power outage for the hotel, I didn't see any plan for any sort of generator or anything like that on the property. So
That doesn't sound very.
yeah, what's their
business?
What's their
Right.
plan? And if they are going to have a generator, what's going to be the noise
Yeah.
situation with that for Dubrava and
Yeah.
everyone else?
Mhm. That's a good one. Yeah. Anybody else on the council?
You said this has received final approval. Is that final or pre-final or?
It's final.
It is, okay.
But it is subject to conditions. There are conditions that were imposed back when the first permit was before the commission, and a number of those things will only be implemented as construction goes through. And so if at any point the contingencies aren't met, there is an opportunity to say, well, can't go forward because you haven't met the requirements.
I guess my question is has there ever been a precedent, and maybe you can speak to this, Linda, of having that overturned, having that approval overturned?
Oh, that's a good procedural question. Linda, do you know?
That's a good question. I feel like I have to look into that.
I mean, in
I think
legal terms, is there an appellate process?
Well, what
I
I
think appeal.
what I know is that everything I read was given to all the agencies who approved this. So they've seen all of these concerns and have responded to some. There's been movement on the project. The size was reduced a little bit, et cetera, riparian corridor. So none of this would be new, so it'd be hard to
Oh,
hard for me to understand why they would suddenly overturn it based on the same issues.
It'd just be interesting to see if there has been a precedent, and how that might impact this one, because it doesn't sound like it should have passed.
Well, I think the biggest issue to me, it's all big issues, but the idea that you could take a study done 7 years ago and apply it now just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I
Or
mean,
apply it to the
that-
future.
That's alone, that seems to be a flaw, but, anyone else on the council?
Well, I just want to say, more than anything, the water and wastewater treatment are like tantamount to that project not moving forward. We just heard, now they're gone, but we just heard from San Francisco, from Sonoma County Water, that this facility can't have any expansion. For overflow, possibly, but to add any more users, I mean, it just.
No.
You know, so.
Okay, public comment from anyone in the room? Tia, you can come up.
Couple things. Sorry.
Remember, oh no, I feel the same way. Remember,
Tia.
you need to be as brief as you can be, please.
Okay. 2 minutes. Just tell me to shut up when it's time. I wanted to clarify that the parking thing that they did, they got a variance to have less than legally required parking. And they're planning on doing stacked parking and saying they're gonna have valet parkers. And if there's a fire, I live on Fernwood Heights, the hill right across the way there. Another one of the people in our community who's been very active on looking into this and trying to fight it. He wouldn't even come to this meeting with me tonight. He said, they're gonna wait until our hair is on fire to do something. Which is. They have slid so many things through. Sonoma Water gave them permission. Gave their approval for this project. And, yeah, they increased the footprint of the place when the planning commission or the BOZ, Board of Zoning, had a meeting and said, okay, you take it down one level, you keep the same footprint. And they went ahead and increased it. They increased the footprint, and the BZA's attitude was, well, it's inevitable, so we're gonna just approve it. So that's all I have to say.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, there is one more thing really quick. There was a case, I haven't followed through on it, where it was up, I'm not sure if it was Napa County, where they were planning this big resort there, and the Board of Supervisors up there that had approved it were sued by somebody in the state for not paying attention to the fire issue for evacuation for locals.
Good to know.
Thank you, and thank you for putting together the ad hoc.
Anybody online, Debbie?
We have one hand raised online. Jill, please unmute to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just.
I want to thank Joe for that excellent report. There was two other things that I wanted to add to that. One is that there has been a proposed Forestville to Jenner multi-use trail, and I haven't heard any talk about an easement along the frontage of this property to allow for that. The other thing is that back in the olden days, there was a place called Summer Crossing right across Holbert Creek there. It was a causeway that went to a bridge that provided an additional evacuation route. And I don't know if there's been any discussion of reviving that or putting some sort of a more permanent bridge there as an access route for fire evacuation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online?
No other hands online.
So ad hoc. What is your suggested next steps, if any?
In discussion with Debbie, we'll follow through on who you want to talk with. Potentially bring people to an ad hoc meeting. We've talked about having Eric Hunter show for attend. And we'll get as many answers as we can.
Okay.
So I'll send out a meeting scheduler. What do you think about a daytime meeting, maybe here?
Fine
Do
with
you-
me.
We could try for that. You think maybe? Yeah, you're the one that has the most
I have
difficult
a
schedule
job.
for that, yeah.
I'm good with weekends too.
Right.
I'm good with
Oh,
weekends.
weekend,
I'm
okay.
As long
excellent
as
with
the
weekends.
49ers aren't playing.
Oh, well, you'll have to
I don't care
check
about
the
this.
calendar for that.
If they are.
I don't have that in my calendar. So I'll send something out, for like a Saturday and see when we could all get together and maybe we could meet here on a Saturday
And then
in person. Mhm.
bring whatever you.
And
find
with
out.
enough lead time,
Yeah,
it all depends on I have a lot of meetings as well at work,
find something.
But not on Saturday.
but not at Saturday.
Okay, so
Yeah,
can you
we could
do
do
the
Saturday.
scheduling it?
We'll do, yeah, but at
We
least,
still have,
So
yes, we still have,
if we could get that done quickly and bring it back to next meeting, that'd be great.
that'd be wonderful.
that'll be the goal.
I mean, obviously, we lost a little time anyway. Okay, let's move on to our Brown Act training.
Well, we had the
Matt-
community engagement outreach plan ad hoc.
Oh, sorry, the ad hoc.
Yeah.
Can we table that till next time?
To form it and talk
Yes.
about it, sure,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean.
'Cause I think we wanna
You're
have-
asking me, ask your body.
I mean, we could do it now, but
Community outreach, discussion.
Second,
Second, third.
thank you.
Right.
Please, okay.
Should we, why don't we do a formal vote on that? Just, I think everybody agrees, but.
By roll call?
We
or by
had-
eye?
Well, no, just by hand, but
Okay.
but Vicky moved and Lonnie seconded, Lonnie moved. And then Joe seconded, okay.
B,
Yes.
are you voting yes?
And everybody agrees to
Yes.
table, okay.
I
Got it,
warned you that would be like.
okay. So now, we have a brief interlude while I figure out how to share my screen for the Brown Act presentation. Okay.
But hand out over there, you can get one.
Oh, did I have one?
Okay, you can go over there.
Sorry, it's hanging out.
Everybody else have a Brown Act?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are printed ones if you wanna write notes on it. Oh, yeah. You didn't get one.
No, I guess I forgot to.
Yeah, if anybody wants the slides to write notes on, I have some copies.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, so I'll pass those down. Does anybody else want a copy? Yeah, that one you need, yeah. This one, yeah, that one is for all of the representatives.
No, we're going through this.
If you
Probably
can,
expire, so.
if you want.
No, I think that's just the.
And you know.
This is the very size of
Thank you.
I'm trying to find my,
You do have 40 others that I already covered.
A few others, but those were the big ones.
Brown Act change for 2026.
It did change, yes, and not everything that changed is gonna be covered in this presentation because county council is still developing a new slide deck. One of the new things is that all representatives on a Brown Act body have to be given a printout of the Brown Act, which is what this is. And then like AB 2449 has sunset. That was how people could attend remotely. But there's a new SB 707, which brings some of those elements back. But I don't have all the information on that yet. So this is gonna be like a basic, you know, don't talk to more than a quorum kind of things. And I'll try to go quickly through this because we're really beyond time. And it's a process learning about this. So anybody who's brand new, I mean, you've been on Brown Act bodies, but if you have questions, if anyone has questions, this can be a conversation that we have. A lot of the Brown Act rules are important for me as the clerk to be aware of, to help you to not step into it. So a few of the things we'll talk about here, and those of you who have been on the council already for a while are already aware about, you know, not talking to more than a quorum and how all that works. So we'll go through this quickly. It's the same slides, less a few pages from last year. So let me just see if I can share my. Okay. There we go. There you go, got it to work. So the purpose of the Ralph M. Brown Act is really to honor transparency and the fact that the public has a right to observe business done by government. And so that is the reason for us not to be able to engage with public comment for something that wasn't on the agenda already. Somebody may come to a meeting and come to the podium and, you know, expect the MAC is here to help me out, and the MAC is, but we can't go into deliberation about anything during a meeting that isn't already on the agenda. And the reason for that is so that the public can pay attention to the agenda and go to the meetings and watch the meetings where there's something that they have an interest in the topic. So it does feel stymieing to the public sometimes, but there is a good reason for it. So that's what this is here. All meetings of a legislative body of a local agency shall be open and public, and all persons shall be permitted to attend and participate in the meetings.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes.
I think that's why it's important that we really listen to what's being said.
Yes.
And agendize things when it's, when it's appropriate.
Right, because that's the way to follow up on that piece. So the MAC is a legislative body. A standing committee of the MAC in the past, when we've had standing land use committees, that's a legislative body. And what makes it a legislative body is that it's formed by a legislative body. So the Board of Supervisors created the MAC. If the MAC forms a standing committee, then it becomes a legislative body. There's other reasons too why a standing committee, it has an ongoing body of work. But that is why the chair forms an ad hoc. That's why we don't vote on forming an ad hoc. Because it isn't being formed by the legislative body. The chair is just saying, okay, subgroup, go over here and work on this issue and then bring it back to the main body. And here we are, a standing committee versus an ad hoc committee. So a standing committee has ongoing or an indefinite term. An ad hoc committee is only temporary to work on a specific issue that's stated when it's formed. And an ad hoc committee is comprised of less than a quorum of members and no members of the public, because it's a subgroup. The full MAC hasn't discussed it yet. And so it's a working body to bring it back to the full MAC, at which point then the public can be there for public comment. And that doesn't mean that the public can't be aware of what an ad hoc is doing and the work they're doing. You can tell people, I'm on this ad hoc, what do you have to share with me? I'm trying to figure this out for the community. And likewise, if there is, look how we're gonna bring Commissioner Koenigshofer into next meeting. He's not a member of the ad hoc, but he's gonna attend with special information. So if there ever is somebody with special information that needs to come, that can happen, but they're not part of making a decision and bringing a recommendation back to the full map. Only the map does that. So this is the part about the not speaking with more than a quorum. So there are 9 members of the map. So 4 members can have a conversation about something, which is why that's the limit for an ad hoc. But there's different ways that can happen. Like 2 of you, when the agenda comes out, 2 of you can have a conversation about something just because you're trying to bounce ideas off each other, and that's fine. But what you need to be careful is that you don't go talk to some other people too, and really be mindful, not only that you didn't talk to more than a quorum of people, but a quorum of people hadn't discussed the issue outside of an agendized meeting. So that's called a serial meeting. So, 5 of you could go out to lunch and talk about the 49ers if you care about it. Hey. We see who's gonna get that lunch. But you can't go out and talk about MAC issues outside of an agendized meeting. But a serial meeting is where person A talks to person B talks to person C. So we've been through all of that before. The other thing is called a hub and spoke meeting. Maybe they're gonna come up with that later. I'm just gonna talk about it here. A hub and spoke meeting is where like sometimes like a chair might fall into that because people might reach out to you, and you have to be very careful about having one person be the center. There's gonna be a page here with it in a minute, a slide. One person be the center and then have more than 5 people have a conversation. You can, however, reach out to staff. So I can hear the opinions of all of you on particular issues, but I can't say, well, Terry, Terry said this, and say that to Joe and say, well, I hear this person thinks that. I just have to keep it all to myself until we're at the meeting, and then you all talk about it yourselves. But it can help me to bring materials. If people have certain questions or certain perspectives, you can feel free to reach out to me, because I can then compile that and bring it to a meeting. Social media. So you can use social media as a MAC representative, but you shouldn't like or comment or react to or share one another's posts, but you can interact with the community on these public forums. Avoid posting in any private groups as a only place where you post something. If you're trying to share something about a meeting, as long as it's in public places, and then you also put it, because some of these Facebook groups, if you didn't join them, then they're private. And so that should be the only place where something is. Same with Nextdoor. Nextdoor is private. You have to be accepted into it. So that can't be the only place where these things go.
I'm sorry, it can't be the only place where what things.
Like if you wanted to promote something about the MAC or like get some issue, like that a meeting is coming up or that there's an issue that we're deliberating on or anything like that, you would want to make sure if you're posting that on social media, it's places where, like if it's your own personal page, you would make it a public post, not to your friends only.
Okay.
If you were posting in one of the like locals groups on Facebook, some of them you have to be accepted to be a member.
Right.
So you would just want to make sure you would want it that it's also in a public place. And if you're just forwarding something that's already been posted by the county, then that's fine too, if that's not the only place where it is. So if you're pushing out an agenda, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're getting into like getting information from people, you don't want it to be in a private location. You want it to be a public location.
Like, for instance, there were a couple of times where you sent emails saying, can you pass this around to your community?
Mm-hmm.
And I used the Cavadero next door because.
Right.
So that's okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
because this is something we're just trying to blanket it as many places as possible.
Okay.
And so you don't have to worry about that. And that's why we have MAC reps from neighborhoods and regions, because they're connected in with the places in there.
But if I wanted feedback, then I shouldn't just use Nextdoor.
Right, you shouldn't just use Nextdoor if you want feedback, correct?
You can also always use the MAC site.
Yeah, you can
MAC
use the
page.
MAC page.
Yeah.
And then even forward things from there. So a member can communicate on social media to answer questions, provide information to the public, solicit information, but not with other MAC members or alternates. So you could add just to the extra, like a best practice is to, on your own social media, if you're using it for MAC. Some people have started separate MAC Facebook pages. That has proven to not be especially useful because all the people you know, your whole social network is not on that one. So you want to share it out with the people you already know. But you can write at the top of, there's a place like info bio at the top, and I can help anyone that wants to figure out how to do this. This is a personal page and the views expressed are strictly my own. If you do that, that's gonna cover you, to be not, speaking. You don't want to speak as an individual on behalf of the entire MAC. That's what we're trying to say here. Terry can talk to anybody about anything, but
Terry is MAC member.
you wouldn't want to say, you wouldn't want to say, I'm representing the MAC.
Right.
When I say this, unless like you're sending out minutes or something, if it already happened. So that's the bottom line, in a nutshell for that. So I already talked about this, talking with staff, is not a serial meeting. If you go to a social or ceremonial event where no business of the board is discussed, of course, that is not a meeting, so you could all, be at, farmer's market. And it doesn't matter, just don't cluster together and talk about that thing that's gonna be on the agenda soon. Community forums and meetings of other government bodies, so there's gonna be another all MAC meeting, and that'll be probably, as it was last time, posted as a Board of Supervisors meeting. And you will be attending it, and it can be more than a quorum, because it's not MAC purview topics, it's procedural questions, and that's what the topics are. And so while you're there, you would also want to avoid sitting at a table and talking about our current issues while you're there. So that's what you just need to be aware of. And same with public conferences you can go to, and just don't discuss a business. So this is something that I'm responsible for making happen, posting the agendas. The Brown Act requires 72 hours for a regular meeting. We post usually 6 to 7 days prior. I mean, 72 hours is the minimum. We like to give you time to look at your agendas, and we like the public to have time to look at the agendas. So our personal goal is 6 to 7 days, where 3 days is the
And
rule.
thank you for getting it up on the door.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
thank you for
you.
that. That's, you helped us. You helped me not drive out to Guerneville to take something to the door, so I appreciate it. So, yeah, so this is something that I make sure happens, and sometimes you'll hear about, needing materials early so that they can be remediated. That's not necessarily a Brown Act thing, but if I distribute something to the whole council, I also have to make it available to the public. And in order to make it available to the public, I have to put it on the county website. In order to put it on the county website, it needs to be remediated for ADA accessibility so that screen readers can read it out loud to people who use them. And that has to go through the IT department. So sometimes when you hear, I need to post it, I need materials sometimes a little bit sooner. All right, so I think we've covered this, about, not discussing items that aren't on the posted agenda. If something comes up, don't hesitate, looking to the chair and saying, hey, could we put this on or could we consider this for a future agenda? That can happen. You just can't talk about the meat of the topic. And staff can briefly respond to questions. So if I know the answer, if I, can give staff's business card, a lot of times that answers their question, and it's not necessarily something that the MAP needs. So I can needs to address. So I can sometimes help people with their public comment.
So like that person who was talking about their street, but they didn't name their street. And 3 of us were like, what street? They're like, no.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, and it's hard because we're all here because we want to help people.
Right.
So, but just know that I will take that upon myself. I won't let people leave going, why didn't they say anything to me?
Right.
I'll, connect them.
I named the street later.
You outed the street.
No, it was already on.
It was already on. So let's see. So yeah, so in council member comment, you can, that third bullet covers that. And members can ask me to bring back information on a future agenda. And Vicky kind of alluded to this to one of the public commenters, or when you're talking about putting things on the agenda, that not everything will get on the agenda. But sometimes it might not get on the agenda as a discussion item because we only have a limited amount of time, and a limited number of meetings. But what's worked really well is if there's a topic of interest, I can put a staff report that you and the public can read, so it doesn't take up time at the meeting, but we can get that information back out, and if there isn't need for a back and forth. So always reach out and ask for that. If you think of something that maybe isn't quite an agenda item, but you would like information on it. So this is the requirement for public comment. And so we do, these are all things that we do by our standard operating right now, so I don't think we need to spend any time on that. There are rules around disorderly conduct in meetings, knock wood, you know, that doesn't seem to be an issue here, but the chair, if things get really out of control, the chair can call a recess while
Things calm down.
things calm down, yeah.
Well, we got kind of lucky that way.
Yeah, in the beginning, there was more
Everybody in the.
time on the clock.
And so teleconference rules, this is where we removed a lot of things, but right now, all that I'm gonna cover are the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing. And that is where if, a member or a few members can't be at the main location and they know prior to the, agenda being published and technology is available, to have them at another location where the meeting is also posted on the door and it's public. People can walk in and attend the meeting in person. That is permitted. I can't really think of a case where that is something that we would need to do for this. The coast map sometimes, because they're so long and spread out, there have been times where there's been a group at the Sea Ranch. But we run into technology issues with that, and then a group someplace else. So, but that's the Brown Act, regulation right now. And, if we ever need to do that, I'll make sure that we adhere to the rules there. You don't have to memorize them. Have we already talked about this? Yeah, so we did talk about, these slides are in kind of a funny order because they did talk about social media, but this is the part where it just outlines that the sites have to be free and don't require approval for participation. So Nextdoor and private groups on Facebook. So Brown Act violations, I mean, really, I think that, yeah, so there can be civil action, criminal penalties, but really adhering to the Brown Act, helps to, fortify trust in the public process. So that's, I think that's even more important in civil actions and criminal penalties, because a lot of times it really is, it's a, honor system. There can be civil actions and criminal penalties. We don't make decisions at the MAC that would need to be like backed out because it's advisory. But it's good. It's really good practice to be aware of these things. And, I can't see what kind of injunctive relief could happen as a result of a MAC Brown Act violation, but there could be, and attorney's fees are available to prevailing plaintiffs, so mind your P's and Q's and stay transparent. And this is the last page. So these are two resources. You have the full printed Brown Act, which is the first one, and then SB 707. I'll do a quick update on that when County Council gives me an update on that and some of the things that they may provide some additional flexibility that both the river and the coast map could benefit from in terms of members being able to participate remotely and so forth.
Are they still deliberating on that, or is it?
No, it's
a done
passed.
deal?
It's a done deal. It's just county council hasn't written up their protocols yet. And so so it should all be in that document that I gave you. I printed them, I received them in my email on Tuesday and printed them on Tuesday, so I haven't studied it yet. And so it'll be a little bit of time before we know exactly what all of I followed SB 707 as it was going through. I just don't know what made it into the final version. And so as soon as we have more information on that. Any questions?
No?
Well done, you zipped through.
Yvonne, did you have any questions?
Oh, no, that was great. Okay, good.
Wow. Do we have anyone
Do we have
online?
anybody online? I know me too. I already.
Great.
I'm gone. I'm sorry.
The dog.
We adjourn?
I feel like banging the gavel.
Let me see, let's see,
You
if
guys
there's no
have-
hands raised online.
We're good.
We're good.
We are adjourned.
Adjourned.
I would suggest that you make Nick a
Yes.
tag.
You don't like that one?